each specific item. We are moving on to our ceremonial section, and I am so pleased to invite down Carolyn Hoskins of the Hoskins Black History Museum and Learning Center to receive recognition on Juneteenth. Ms. Hoskins. Welcome. Now let me read off the proclamation for you. Whereas on June 19, 1865, over 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was declared, Union General Gordon Granger issued General Order No. 3 in Galveston, Texas, affirming that all previously enslaved people in Texas and the southern states were free from bonded servitude. And whereas the city of San Mateo recently adopted a resolution to observe Juneteenth as a city holiday, Juneteenth was officially designated as a federal holiday on June 17, 2021 by President Joe Biden. However, Juneteenth has been continuously celebrated in the United States for 159 years. And whereas the inhumanity of slavery is a dark mark on our country's history, the consequences of which have rippled through time up until today. Today, we continue to combat the social and systemic challenges that disproportionately affect Black and African American people. And whereas Juneteenth is a time to recognize the hardships Black and African American people have overcome and the injustices that are still overdue to be righted. And whereas the city of San Mateo is committed to addressing racial inequities within our own community, and we proclaim our dedication to cultivating a more inclusive, welcoming society, and now, therefore, I, Lisa Diaz-Nash, Mayor of the City of San Mateo, on behalf of the City Council, recognize June 19th, 2024 as Juneteenth. Signed, Lisa Diaz-Nash, Mayor, June 17th, 2024. And be it further resolved, we call upon our entire San Mateo community members to seize all opportunities to learn and honor and celebrate on this important holiday and every other day. Thank you. Ms. Hoskins.
On behalf of the Dominique Hoskins Black History Museum and Learning Center, I would like to thank you for this opportunity and also to encourage everyone to come and visit the Dominique Hoskins Black History Museum in San Mateo County. And thanks to the hard work of Senator Josh Becker, we have a permanent home in Redwood City at 890 Jefferson. We are unstoppable, proud, strong, fearless, inspiring. We celebrate 22,000 square feet of extraordinary contributions of world history that African Americans have contributed. From the inventions to the cell phone, the traffic light. I'm sure everyone today has had a bag of potato chips, and we can say thank you to an African American for the potato chip. So there's a lot of history that is being told, and I encourage everyone, no matter what race or nationality you are, be proud of your history. Come to the Black History Museum and share your history and tell your story. We had 72 children from Fox School to come to the museum. They had lunch. They were so inspired that they went back to their school and created a museum and invited me to come. It was amazing because they did not do Dr. King, Rosa Parks, the same 6 people that we hear about all the time. They did Langston Hughes. They did a story about the Negro League baseball. So it was so inspiring to see what these children did because of the museum. So I say to you, with the help of Senator Becker, San Mateo County can be so proud to have the Dominique Hoskins Black History Museum and Learning Center in Redwood City. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Hoskins, don't sit down quite yet. Here we go. And I would like to echo Ms. Hoskins' invitation for everyone to come to the museum. I believe we've all been there, and it is just an incredible environment, something where you laugh, you cry, you learn. And thank you so much for your fortitude and making sure this really is a reality we all can celebrate forever. Thank you. Now, I have a privilege reserved only for mayors of this city, that it is my great honor to recognize Flood-Free San Mateo as the recipient of the Mayor's Quarterly Hero Award. This award was started by a previous council and a previous mayor, Diane Pappin, to recognize an individual or a group who demonstrated what it meant to be community, what it meant for people to do things together to make San Mateo a better place. And tonight we are delighted to be joined by Alex Schwerko-Gadicki, Mareva Godfrey, and many other dedicated members of Flood-Free San Mateo. So why don't Alex and Mareva come down right now and we'll talk a little bit. I'm sure many people in this room and listening in know the story of the New Year's flood in 2023 and beyond. Our community faced intense flooding across the city that caused severe damages across so many neighborhoods. The devastation included totaled cars, waterlogged garages, and flooded homes. In the wake of this crisis, a group of community members got together and decided to do something about it, to hold city council to what we needed to do, and also to gather the community together to make sure that we all pull together to make our community better again. So Flood-Free San Mateo was born and stepped up with a clear mission to raise awareness about flooding risks and to take proactive measures to prevent future disasters. Flood-Free San Mateo exemplifies community effort, partnership, and collaboration through difficult times and through happy. Their relentless advocacy and strategic initiatives were key to the success of the Community Flood and Stormwater Protective Initiative. Thanks to their effort, San Mateo property owners voted in favor of this measure, which enacted a monthly fee to fund improvements to our stormwater infrastructure that was so overdue and so needed. This measure's passage was a landmark achievement. This success is a testament to the hard work and dedication of Flood-Free San Mateo. Because of their efforts, we can look forward to a safer, more resilient San Mateo. And just because the initiative passed doesn't mean Flood-Free is going away. I know you will be watching and making sure we all do the right thing. Flood-Free San Mateo has not only raised awareness about our city's flooding risks, but also galvanized our community into action. Your vision and dedication have paved the way for better protection against future flooding, and shown the rest of us how you can come together as a community when there is something important you want to see changed. And you did, and it was. So please join me in congratulating Flood-Free San Mateo for their exemplary service and unwavering commitment to our community. You truly are our heroes. Let's let Alex and Mareva, you want to say a little something?
Yes, please. Thank you very much, Mayor. On behalf of the folks in the room here tonight and several hundred people who contributed to the Flood Free Coalition, we want to thank you and the entire council for this recognition, but more importantly for your support along the way. We could not have done it without the support of the council. I just want to say a few quick thank yous. We want to thank all of the businesses who contributed to our efforts and rallied around us, as well as members of the union committee, and then also Evelyn Stiers in the Housing Leadership Council, who was part of the core group helping support this. And last but not least, and most importantly, the Department of Public Works, who rose to the challenge that night of flooding and were, overwhelmed and undermanned in many cases, but day in and day out since then have done incredible work in the city trying to make us safer every single day. And there's a lot of work still to do, but thank you for keeping this front of mind and supporting us along the way. And as you said, making the city safer every day. We really appreciate it. And we're proud of the work.
Thank you.
It's lovely to see you. And we want to thank you again on behalf of everyone for the unexpected yet deeply symbolic recognition of the unity of our community. It serves as a powerful reminder of the collective effort and shared values which have brought us to this point. This recognition is not just a testament to the strength and unity that has propelled us forward, but also a call to continue our journey together, united by our shared values and our common goal. It's easy, and Alex actually mentioned just a lot of people that have been very recently part of all of this, and it's easy to think of those factors and those individuals that recently joined forces to create that momentum. Yet we wouldn't be here if we were not for the past shoulders that we have stood on, which are essential players in the path that bring us here tonight. And so they are all heroes too, and deserve mention. The Marina Lagoon Action Committee, with Rick Sakuda and Rich Hedges in the lead, started advocating for attention decades before there was visible evidence of frail stormwater infrastructure. In 2009, Heidi Moser, a resident of the Laguna Vista HOA, could you stand up, please? Single-handedly began organizing walks with officials, past city council members, to show them the worsening problem. Later in 2018, the Marina Lagoon Laguna Vista HOA committee, including Heidi, Valerie Alblath, Lori Medione, and Andrea Bradenbach, who has moved away from the area, and myself, we formed to gather historical data to grow simple awareness of what had happened before, what had taken place, what scientific data we had in order to increase awareness of the situation at the south end of the Marina Lagoon and gain support again from City Council. 2022 brought the irrefutable issues to a head during the massive system failures of the infamous winter storms of New Year's Eve. And then the incomparable Danielle Shorko-Goditsky unified a grassroots coalition of informed, dedicated, regular folk to take action, to be heard, and to get the vote out. After all, united voices are louder, and visible evidence is powerful, and you were all there. To the esteemed City Council members, Department of Public Works, and San Mateo staff, you're also part of the chain. You have taken steps and stood on the shoulders of the Flood Free Coalition and worked in tandem with an advisory ad hoc group of residents to represent San Mateo's needs and aspirations for a future-ready stormwater infrastructure system that keeps us all safe. Your role is integral in the recognition we are celebrating tonight, and we are deeply grateful. The essence of all of this is that no one ever does it alone. It is a profound relief to know that we stand on the shoulders of those who came before us and that we're not alone in our efforts ever. Thank you for recognizing the time, effort, and strength of conviction that kept all of us and those who will follow moving forward. It is said that there is no power for change greater than a community discovering what it cares about. Thank you.
Thank you. If you could just stay there a moment. Councilmember Hedges wants to say something.
I just want to note what an accomplishment you made. There's been two 218 measures that have passed in this county, and they've both been in San Mateo. One for the levies, and now for the internal system. We have generous voters here in San Mateo. We have generous property owners, because many other cities have tried this and failed. They just couldn't get the votes. So the courageousness of you and others, and of someone who's now running for city council that I can't say their name.
But I can.
Have made this possible. And I so appreciate it, and it's so important to our city. So thank you so much.
And so all the blue shirts up here. And if you didn't wear your blue shirt, but you're part of this, or want to be part of this, you can be part of the photo. Every time.
Why don't you hold the medal? Yeah.
Shall we do? Yes, we need to go forward a little, maybe. Alex?
Someone shorter than
Yay, Rich. Oh, yeah. Kidding me? Powerhouse there.
Turn to the side.
You also look skinnier. Yes.
Congratulations, everyone. But we need to move on. So, celebrations out in the courtyard. So, everyone, if we can continue. I know this is fun, but we've got lots of other great things to move on to. Please, thank you so much. So we're going to move on to the consent calendar. So City Clerk, could you please read the consent calendar?
With pleasure, Madam Mayor. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered by the council to be routine and will be enacted by motion without discussion. If discussion is desired, that item may be removed and considered separately. Item number 3, Citywide Custodial Services Amendment. Item number 4, City Standard Drawings Update. Item number 5, Technical Planning Services for Fiscal Year 2022-2023 Agreement. Item number 6, Caltrans 82 ECR Roadway Rehabilitation Upgrade Project Agreement. Item number 7, On-Call Transportation Services for Various Projects Amendment. Item number 8, Fiscal Year 2024-25 General Liability and Property Insurance Purchase Authorization. Item number 9, 2023 Rail Corridor Transportation Management Association Annual Report. Item number 10, Wastewater Treatment Plant Upgrade and Expansion Project Engineering Services Amendment. Item number 11, Fiscal Year 2024-25 Water Quality Control Plant Supply of Chemicals Contracts. Item number 12, Water Quality Control Plant Supply of Liquid Emulsion Polymer Contract. Item number 13, Stormwater Fee for County Tax Rolls Agreement. Item number 14, November 5th, 2024, General Municipal Election, calling the district election for candidates. Item number 15, Private Development and Right-of-Way Support Services Agreement. Item number 16, Storm Drain Master Plan Update, Budget Transfer and Amendment. Item number 17, Partial Excess General Liability Insurance Settlement Offer for COVID-19 Business Interruption for Parks and Recreation Authorization. Item number 18, Police Department Trailer Camera Purchase Change Order. Item number 19, Central Recreation Center Self-Help for the Elderly Lease Amendment. Item number 20, Department of Information Technology Classification Updates. Item number 21, Recruitment Services Change Order. And finally, item number 22, Boards and Commissions Appointment Subcommittee Appointment Recommendation.
Well, staff has been busy. That's all I can say. Incredible. So is there any public comment on the consent calendar?
Madam Mayor, I have not received any requests to speak on any items on the consent calendar.
Okay. Is there any member of the council who would like to pull an item from the consent calendar? Councilmember Hedges.
I don't want to pull an item. I just want to mention 3 of them just for public information.
Okay.
The first one is the on-call transportation service for various projects. And that's just simply a method that we use, and we use consultants for, to determine the impact of various developments on transportation and work out a plan for that plan in order to cut down on congestion. An example would be Bay Meadows. When we did the transportation demand management, they determined that they thought 25% of the residents would use Caltrain to commute. It turned out before the pandemic, it was over 50% using the train to commute. So these then make it more likely that we can get people to use public transit or carpools. There were also carpoolings at Bay Meadows. I also wanted to mention number 13, which is the beginning of collecting the money to do the work we need on the stormwater issues. And that's number 13, the stormwater fee for county tax rolls. And then number 19, I just wanted to bring to light that we have a wonderful organization here called Self-Help for the Elderly, and they're housed in our at Central Park, and we're just renewing their lease for 5 years, and then a possibility on a 1-year basis for 5 more years. They will be housed at the, I think it's called Bespoke Development, which will be Railroad 5th to B, and then that whole block will be housing and commercial, and they will have an office there. So that's all I have.
Thank you very much. So do we have a motion to?
So moved.
Thank you. Second. City Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Lee.
Yes.
Councilmember Lorraine.
Yes.
Councilmember Hedges.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Newsom.
Yes.
Mayor Diaz-Nash.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much. So before we move on, as the City Council, by passing the consent calendar, just welcomed 4 new members to our city's advisory bodies, we would like to invite those members who are able to be with us tonight to officially be sworn in by our city clerk. Jennifer Kim has been appointed to the Community Relations Commission. Rich Kranz has been appointed to the Sustainability and Infrastructure Commission. Annie Tsai to our Library Board, and Adam Clafter to the Planning Commission. Congratulations to you all. Please come on down. Please come down.
Congratulations, we're going to do this all together. So if you could raise your hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Rich Kranz,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support and defend the Constitution
that I will support and defend the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Our city is very fortunate to have so many committed individuals, and we actually continue to invite everyone to apply for a board or a commission, an advisory committee. This is how the city operates, and we are very grateful. And there's obviously support out in the audience for that, too. Okay. So we are going to move on to public comment now. Members of the public wishing to comment on any item not appearing on the agenda may address the City Council at this time. State law prevents council from taking action on any matter not on the agenda. Your comments may be referred to staff for follow-up. This public comment section is generally limited to a total of 15 minutes. However, that is subject to council's discretion and can be extended if council wishes to do so. If needed, an opportunity for additional public comment may also be provided later in the agenda. City Clerk, how many requests for public comment do we have to speak on general public comment?
Yes, Madam Mayor. So far I have received 1 request to speak for general public comment. If you wish to speak on any items not appearing on the agenda, please provide me with a request to speak slip. If you are attending remotely, please raise your hand. We'll give you just a few moments to do so. Madam Mayor, we have received a total of 4 requests to speak, making that 5. So our final speaker will be Griffin Lee, and we will call up the first speaker. That will be Amy Jessel.
Thank you.
Glad we're all talking about community tonight because this is just extending more of that. I'm here to talk about the fire that we had. I live on Mariners Island, and I'm sort of representing the whole island because my phone was blowing up all night on June 12th when the bird sanctuary caught on fire by a rogue, I can't say rocket because it was bigger than that. It was like a sonic boom. But the bottom line is we had a lot of upset people and questions. So I have some questions to throw out just to leave hanging. This is sort of a compilation of questions and responses. The first being, of course, the let's do nothing, let it burn, which I understand with first responders, particularly, it's people first and then homes and then this and that. But the winds were gusting strong that night, and I have on my video a 10-foot flame coming up where I was out there till midnight trying to calm people down because everybody's like, all it takes is one ember to flip onto the island, and we will go up in an hour because everybody's connected, their townhomes. So there's that. The question would be, in the form of the question there, is what is the protocol for how we decide that? And future forward, could we have not sent, for instance, Harbor Patrol out to throw some water on there? I mean, we've got the lagoon water. It takes a pump. You can buy them on Amazon for both commercial and residential, where you can pump from the lagoon to the island. We could have put it out within a short amount of time. Instead, it burned all night for 12 hours, and my phone was blowing up with very panicky people. And that's problematic. The secondary thing, of course, and not so secondary for those of us that have worked in wildlife for years at the shelter, was the wildlife. This was a bird sanctuary, and it was scorched earth, full, the nests, et cetera. Yes, there are still eggs out there, but the truth is they're most likely incinerated. There's nothing more heartbreaking than going out there and watching the birds circle around like, what happened? Where's my babies? This kind of thing. And they're not coming back right now. Now, some of you may view it as scorched earth and just tall weeds or geese hang out or whatever. Not the case. This is pelicans, this is blue heron, this is egrets, great egrets, snowy egrets. I can give you the laundry list. Also, the misunderstanding of it just burned down the weeds. Those weeds are what they use for the nesting. Anything that's over 18 inches will be a deterrent for geese, and instead it's for the herons and the ones that need to lay their eggs. So I wanted to look at a volunteer effort to rehabilitate the area. I've had several people approach me saying, I'll be there. So wanted to know protocol on that. And I'm running out of time, so I'll let that be.
Thank you. Moving to our virtual environment, our first speaker will be Selena Zhang. Selena, please unmute your mic.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Hello, honorable city council members. As a member of YCATS, a youth organization focused on climate activism, I'm working towards environmental improvement. A primary issue we face now is the proliferation of artificial turf in our society. Usually, this type of plastic grass includes chemicals such as PFAS that are used to coat the grass so as to prevent them from sticking to each other, which have varying impacts. Firstly, the EPA has done studies that show that these chemicals could result in health effects in the endocrine system and contain metabolic effects upon contact or ingestion. This also could cause things like cancer, which has been empirically proven through numerous studies in the past. Additionally, this type of plastic is also terrible for the environment, as it isn't easily broken down and ends up in places like water and soil, which leads to environmental degradation and pollution. Independently, synthetic turf also presents a health issue to people as it overheats really often. During games, children and students are susceptible to being impacted by the heat. In fact, football players have been shown to be 11 times more likely to suffer health illnesses on artificial turf. Therefore, we urge a ban or moratorium on artificial turf to promote a safer and healthier environment for all people. This would mean that instead of using synthetic grass, people would be not allowed to do that anymore and would go back to safer or natural grass. To address common points of concern about its convenience and cheap cost, studies have shown that and concluded that synthetic grass doesn't last as long as people assume, and the benefits actually do not offset the initial costs of installation. Additionally, playtime is not as improved as many people think, as many studies have indicated that they're almost equal, and the negative effects of artificial turf far exceed the benefits. We strongly believe that it is vital that we implement a ban or moratorium on artificial turf for the safety of our community and the environment. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Mark Yu. Mark, please unmute your mic.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hello and thank you, honorary San Mateo Council members. My name is Mark, and I'm also part of YCATS, a youth climate action group focused on environmental action and conservation. In our city and many others, others, artificial turf has been steadily rising in popularity. Though artificial turf might seem convenient or good for the environment, it in truth has many detrimental effects. People may think artificial grass saves water, but it actually requires an irrigation system to hose and clean down the grass with water. Artificial grass also isn't as convenient as you might believe, as it still takes effort to maintain the field. Additionally, plastic turf has a very negative impact in the long run. Artificial turf not only relies on huge amounts of plastic to be constructed, but also requires replacement once the plastic blades of grass get dislodged, worn down, or broken over time. The main problem here is that plastic turf can't actually be recycled. Though companies promise recyclability, artificial turf really just ends up in the landfill, and all those toxic chemicals from the plastic and those microplastics within the turf just end up going right back into our environment. The awful effects of artificial turf is what has just led the city of Millbrae to take action against artificial turf, passing a moratorium on it. We cannot stand for any more damage to our environment, and for that reason, I urge you to follow Millbrae's suit and pass a moratorium on artificial turf by the end of 2024. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Amanda Yu. Amanda, please unmute your mic.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hello and good evening, honorary San Mateo City Council members. My name is Amanda and I'm currently a junior in high school. Like Selena and Mark, I'm also a part of YCATS, a youth organization of high schools started in the Bay Area. One thing that we've become increasingly concerned about is the prevalence of synthetic turf and the health hazards that it poses to our community. Synthetic turf is becoming increasingly popular, implemented across schools, parks, and cities. A lot of people assume that it's more convenient or easier to maintain artificial turf, or that it even saves water. However, there's countless health hazards involved that outweigh the benefits of using plastic turf. First, artificial turf overheats easily, resulting in heat injuries. For example, the commencement speech at UC Davis was cut short due to students being hospitalized after passing out on overheated artificial turf in 2022. The athletes who play on artificial turf are also heavily impacted by heat-related illnesses when they're playing on synthetic surfaces. Between 2015 and 2017, the deaths among high school athletes from heat stroke doubled. Football players are 11 times more likely to suffer a heat-related illness playing on synthetic turf. Younger children are also the most affected. They are smaller and therefore have higher metabolic rates and are less able to cool their bodily temperatures and are less likely to self-regulate hydration if left unsupervised. On top of causing heat injuries and raising the likelihood of heat-related diseases, overheated plastic turf also kills the earth beneath and produces runoff of toxic and carcinogenic chemicals known to leach from the petrochemical plastic brass product. Second, artificial turf also exposes those who play on it to an increased risk of injuries. For example, The Guardian published an article on the potential link between 6 athlete deaths from cancer to synthetic turf. The NFLPA states that players risk a 28% increased chance of experiencing non-contact injuries when playing on artificial turf. Now, many NFL players are pushing to implement natural grass on all playing fields. As stated in the Santa Clara County Medical Association letter to the board, a 2019 University Hospital Sports Medicine Institute study found that athletes were 58% more likely to sustain an injury during athletic activity on artificial turf. Casualties involving the turf are extremely common throughout the pro sports industry and can even affect our own communities. We have to take action now in order to prevent injuries to our communities and make it safer for students and everyone who uses these fields on the daily. I urge you to follow in the cities like Millbrae's and Boston's footsteps and agendize a moratorium or a ban on artificial turf in order to fully prevent its use overall. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And our final speaker will be Griffin Lee. Griffin, please unmute your mic.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, fantastic. Hello and thank you, honorary San Mateo City Council members. My name is Griffin, and I'm currently a part of YCATS, a youth climate action team, and a sophomore who is concerned with the current state of the environment. Every day we hear more and more concerning reports regarding plastic turf. We hear about their dangerous chemical properties, which include PFAS, or colloquially known as forever chemicals, the heat-sustained injuries such as those at the UC Davis commencement ceremony, and the multitudes of athletic injuries that professional athletes suffer, both short-term and long-term. According to the National Center for Health Research, the rate of an Achilles injury was 2 times higher on turf than on grass, as well as 6 times higher for an ankle fracture. These can be career breakers for many athletes. A more extreme example would be the 6 former MLB players having the same rare form of brain cancer, leading to a multitude of reports saying that the presence of PFAS in the turf could have been a leading factor. However, the forever chemicals, or PFAS, are not the only cons of artificial turf. I know as a city you have a budget causing you to make certain decisions around said budget. At a glance, artificial turf may seem like a better economic solution than natural grass. In-depth research, however, shows otherwise. An article from the New York Times shows that artificial turf is good in the short run, but in the long term is not so economically stable. With the right amount of maintenance, natural grass can be maintained for a long time, but artificial turf degrades after 8 to 10 years for many brands. Maintenance is another issue as well. While many are under the impression that artificial turf is zero maintenance, this has been proven wrong. In the same New York Times article, researchers showed that the smallest amount of disturbance, such as animals relieving themselves or children running across the grass, can ruin the look of artificial turf, requiring maintenance to put it back to its original form. The same issues aren't to be had with natural grass. With all this being said, please pass a ban on artificial turf to protect your citizens, just as Millbrae has done. Thank you.
Thank you. And Madam Mayor, as Griffin Lee was announced as the last speaker, that concludes public comment.
Thank you very much. I will close public comment. And City Manager, is there something you'd like to say?
Yeah, regarding the fire that happened over at Bird Island, I've put out an offer through residents on the east side that I'm open to sitting down with specifically the HOA and along with our fire department staff, and we can go through exactly how we approached the situation and our overall response, and also have a listening session and a discussion about that. And then on the other item of just artificial turf, I've asked staff, our assistant city manager, to help out and work with our Parks and Recreation director to just provide some more background of how we approach that, and then we can reach out accordingly to those commenters.
Great. Thank you very much.
May I say?
Yes, Councilmember Hedges.
I would like to attend any meeting regarding the fire.
Done.
Okay, and just a piece of history. Originally, I think the police had something to do with it. The artificial turf was requested because, especially with the PAL kids, during the winter months, they would lose contact with them because there wasn't playing time with the field so many.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you to all our public commenters. So now we're going to move on to the public hearing section of the evening. The first public hearing, item number 23, Downtown Business Improvement Area Annual Renewal. And Jennifer Chen, the city's Economic Development Manager, is going to be presenting.
Sure, spring. This is Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. As I said, I am Jennifer Chen, the city's Economic Development Manager. The item before you is a public hearing on the Downtown Business Improvement Area. At the last meeting, the City Council accepted their annual report, adopted a resolution of intent levying the DBIA fees, and set a public hearing for June 27th tonight. The Executive Director of the Downtown San Mateo Association will present DSMA's efforts in the past year and answer any council questions. Council is asked to adopt a resolution levying the annual assessments for the Downtown Business Improvement Area. Okay, this is not your present. Here. That's not sharing. It's not.
Welcome, Executive Director Jakubik.
Thank you.
We're happy to have you here.
Oh, okay.
Thank you so much.
There we go. Okay.
All right, excellent. Thank you. Honorable Mayor and City Council, good evening, everyone. My name is Mackenzie Jakovic. I'm the Executive Director of the Downtown San Mateo Association. Thank you for allowing me to present the DSMA's annual report this evening. I'll provide an overview of the 23-24 fiscal year, some of our accomplishments and goals for the next year. Next slide. I'll start off with some warm fuzzies, a couple quotes. The difference that I've noticed is distinct and palpable. As a resident, a follower of the DSMA Instagram account, and recipient of the newsletter, the buzz around downtown San Mateo in the past few months feels cohesive and alive in a way that it hasn't in years. Next. The Downtown San Mateo Association has been instrumental in revitalizing our downtown district through its adept community engagement, innovative marketing, and invaluable civic partnerships. The impact of DSMA's initiatives, particularly their exemplary work on Boba Day, has been profoundly beneficial to both of my businesses. Downtown San Mateo serves as a regional hub for both business and leisure, attracting visitors from all over the Bay Area, particularly from the peninsula. We have a diverse business mix from tech to health and wellness and retail. Of course, we're very well known for our restaurant scene, with food and drink purveyors making up more than 20% of our district. Touching briefly on post-COVID era, hybrid work model has impacted our foot traffic downtown, both negatively and positively. Our busiest times are not during the workday as once was, but rather evenings and especially weekends. Next slide. Since 1986, the City of San Mateo's City Council has directed the DSMA to manage the downtown business improvement area, supporting merchants and nurturing community connections. In 2022, the City Council approved updated assessments for our business improvement district, which went into effect July 2023. Prior to that, the assessments had not been changed since 2009. The change aimed to both increase our budget and make the assessments more equitable. The change has been absolutely instrumental in our successes for the fiscal year. Also in July 2023, I was privileged to begin my role as Executive Director. My focuses have been activation and collaboration. I've been really lucky to learn from and work with many stakeholders who want to see our downtown succeed. And this, of course, includes the DSMA board, who volunteer their time and talent for the benefit of our district. Their work over the past 5 years allowed me to hit the ground running. Next. Our focus areas are community engagement, member engagement, and civic partnership. Next. A couple photos for you the past year. Next slide. The most visible element of community engagement has been our events in downtown San Mateo. Over the past 12 months, we've added 11 pop-up events to the downtown calendar, collaborated with Parks and Recreation on a wonderful Halloween event, supported events like La Fiesta, September Nights on B, and Fall Fest. Our pop-ups have included jazz and symphonic music from local high schools, a Lunar New Year event with lion dancers, downtown San Mateo Boba Day, and most recently, Juneteenth. Next slide. Next. Community engagement also includes marketing. For digital marketing, we relaunched our Instagram account, updated the website, and updated the look of community newsletters. Just to give you an example of the growth we've had over the past year, we have 1,000 more Instagram followers today than we did 1 year ago. That's all organic growth. Next slide. Offline, we distributed more than 30,000 restaurant guides. We worked with the Daily Journal to include them in a Saturday edition. So that means they went all the way from South City to Half Moon Bay and throughout the rest of the peninsula. We also distributed them at community events outside of downtown. Other marketing efforts included marquee advertising during the San Mateo County Fair. Next slide. There it is. It's actually up till the end of June, so if you see it, let me know. Next slide. I love this quote from my predecessor. While DSMA membership is automatic based on a business's address, awareness and participation are not. So how have we pushed awareness and participation? We've hosted and co-hosted networking events. I've met with numerous individual businesses. We've collaborated on community events and campaigns, such as our putting pop-up with Perform for Golf and the Shop Small to Win Big campaign. And shout out to the San Mateo Chamber for working with us on that. I'm really proud of the work we've done with the North B merchants to better incorporate them into DSMA. We're so lucky that Lori Morales of La Piñata joined the DSMA board in the fall. She has incredible energy, incredible ideas. We love having her on the board. Next slide. Next. I'm so happy with the way I've been able to work with the City of San Mateo in my first year. So thank you again to the City Council members, but also to the many city departments. I know this isn't an Oscar speech, but I'm just going to take 2 minutes to thank a few departments individually. First, I want to thank the City Manager's Office, particularly Jennifer Chen. She's truly guided me and supported me And my understanding is that she was instrumental in keeping the DSMA afloat while there was no executive director. And I also need to mention Joanne McGreeny and the Parks and Recreation Department. They are an incredible team and have been so supportive of our pop-up events. So thank you to them and to everyone who works for the City of San Mateo. Another important role that DSMA plays is acting as a go-between between merchants and civic entities. It's been my pleasure to help businesses find correct departments to reach for parking, signage, connection to other resources. And on the other side of that, I've been able to help convey messages from the city down to the businesses. This could be posting notices or bringing speakers into our board meetings. Next slide. I've already touched on most of our goals for this fiscal year. One missed goal that I hope to do next year is bring on an intern to help with the efforts of DSMA. For next fiscal year, we plan to grow the good work that we've done this year. We'll be growing our cleaning efforts by adding power washing to supplement what the city is already doing. We plan to grow our marketing efforts to reach further out into the Bay Area. We plan to conduct a financial audit. Although we have controls in place, it's just best practice for nonprofits to conduct a third-party audit regularly. Next slide. So thanks to the assessment changes, our revenue saw an increase this year. We were pretty conservative with our spending, wanting to see the actual numbers coming in. For next fiscal year, now that we've been through it once, we'll be better able to allocate the resources. For this year, our largest expenses were payroll and administration, cleaning efforts, marketing, and events, and should be the same for next year as well. Okay, I want to take a moment and give an extra thank you to the city for allowing me to use the shared office with the downtown coordinator, Lance Hall. Not only has this allowed us to put more money towards programming instead of overhead, it's also made collaboration with the city easier. And working with Lance is lovely, so thank you. To close out, just going to go through just a few more photos of the vibrancy of downtown over the past year. Downtown San Mateo Association remains committed to supporting and enhancing our vibrant business district. We're excited about the future and look forward to continuing our efforts in collaboration with businesses, the community, and the City of San Mateo. So thank you for your time and support in adopting the resolution. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. That was wonderful. And if we don't all smile by watching that, I don't know what is. So who would like to, is there public comment first? Excuse me. We have public comment?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we're going to take public comment. This is item number 23, Downtown Business Improvement Area Annual Renewal. Right now I have a total of 3 requests to speak. If you wish to speak on this item and you're participating via Zoom, please raise your hand. Madam Mayor, that's a total of, we have 4 requests to speak. And we will call the first 3 speakers. When I call your name, if you could please line up to my right, that would be greatly appreciated. Our first speaker will be Amy Lee, followed by Catherine Levitt and Robert Anderson.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council. I've been a volunteer with the DSMA for a couple of months now, and I've been, helping out with the events, and I've been really impressed seeing like all the people coming downtown, enjoying it, bringing their families, bringing their pets, building those like fun memories that really make San Mateo amazing. I really like that people are getting to know all corners of the downtown. They come down for an event, but then they, excuse me, they wander through our park, they enjoy other businesses, they get to see the neighborhoods, and I think that's really special. I also think it's really nice that Mackenzie Jakubik has been able to build a bridge with the businesses to really hear their concerns. I've been to a couple of meetings where, after the meeting you go and you kind of walk around the neighborhood, and seeing her have that like rapport with the businesses, being able to take their feedback and kind of amplify that, and now having a strong link to the city team with like Lance and yourselves, I think that's great. I'm excited to see, with continuing support, bigger, better events, more advertising, working with the businesses to really create something special so that our people can enjoy San Mateo even more. So thank you again. Good evening.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Catherine Levitt, followed by Robert Anderson, and our final speaker will be Sir John.
Good evening. My name's Kathy Levitt. I'm the branch manager for Tri-Counties Bank on 3rd Avenue in downtown San Mateo. I think I was one of Mackenzie's first businesses that she walked into when she first started her job, and she recruited me as the treasurer. But I'm very happy to get involved. There are 3 dimensions to downtown. You have the businesses that are open 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. You have the evening, which is a whole nother livelihood to San Mateo. And then you have the weekends, which to my surprise, which I haven't really been down there on the weekends, it's lovely. We have a beautiful, beautiful city. And with Mackenzie's efforts and the DSMA and all the passionate city council members collaborating, coming together, it's truly a joy to be a part of the DSMA, and I truly, truly hope we can keep this collaboration going. Some comments I heard from Juneteenth as people were walking by is somebody said, "Oh, this just makes me so happy to see." And there was a drummer down there drumming and just really engaging with the people. Kids had drums. It really was a beautiful sight, and that just made my heart, just so happy. So Mackenzie's doing a wonderful job. Thank you. And her presentation was lovely. It truly is what the DSMA is doing. It's a great representation. So I'm here just to support it and ask that we continue to make San Mateo thrive. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker will be Robert Anderson.
Hi, good evening. First of all, I want to thank all 5 council members for your continued support of downtown San Mateo. I see you downtown patronize our restaurants and businesses and coming to the events in downtown, most recently the Juneteenth, whether it's a lion dance or music, you're there for us, and we really, really appreciate your involvement. And it goes without saying how important it is, the partnership the DSMA has with the city of San Mateo. Prior to my involvement, I've been on the DSMA board for many years, as previous president, and I've worked with the city both as a city employee and now as a DSMA board member, and we have a great relationship with the police department, with Public Works, with Parks and Rec that really make everything work. Also, Mackenzie, under her leadership this past year, I can definitely say the DSMA is back to full strength. You see all the events and other plans we have this past year and coming up for the next 12 months is nonstop. We want downtown San Mateo to continue being the best downtown on the peninsula, and I respectfully ask that assessment renewal be approved, and so we can keep downtown San Mateo #1. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last speaker will be in our virtual environment, and that is San Mateo Chamber Information. Please unmute your mic.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, this Honorable Mayor, council members, city staff, and community. This is Erica Wood. I'm the CEO of the San Mateo Area Chamber of Commerce. I couldn't be there in person tonight, but wanted to participate virtually to say that I wholeheartedly and fully support the recommendation that City Council adopt the resolution in support of the annual assessment to support the Downtown Business Improvement District and the efforts of the Downtown San Mateo Association. Over the past year, I've seen incredible vision, energy, and passion of the DSMA for activating our downtown, which of course is one of the council's key priorities. And I attribute this to the leadership and the incredible hard work of Mackenzie with the support of Jennifer Chen, the city, Lou Cohen, and the DSMA board. You know, there's real momentum here, and others see that, and they want to be part of it, and that includes the chamber. We've been really proud to partner with the DSMA on various activities, and we look forward to partnering even more to create an accessible, attractive, and economically vibrant downtown. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, that concludes public comment.
Thank you very much. I'm going to close public comment now, bring it back to questions and comments from the dais. Yes, Councilmember Hedges.
I just really like what I've been seeing downtown. You know, I lived a block from downtown when I first came here for 9 years. Most of my recreation was around downtown or the city park. But I want to thank both you and Jennifer for the placement of the Juneteenth celebration, because those businesses don't get the traffic that the businesses do in other parts of B Street. And I'm sure that was done for that reason. And it gave people a chance, including me, even though I know what's there, to look around and remember the businesses that are there that I may want to patronize. I thought it was a wonderful thing that you did. Thank you.
If you notice, it was actually also aligned with the African-American portion of the mural on the ground. So.
It's all about the detail, right? Any other comments or from? Yes.
Thank you, through the mayor. I appreciated the presentation very much, and the thoughtful public comments as well. I did have just a quick question or two. Thank you. I had a constituent ask me about opportunities for other events that could happen downtown, and the ideas that came about in the initial discussion were youth-focused things like science fairs or education fairs, and maybe even some kind of job fair that could involve perhaps our community college or trades, et cetera. And so I have like two related, hopefully small questions. My first one was, could perhaps Director Chen or Exec Director Jakovic talk a bit about how the city and or DSMA have interacted with schools for community events to date, with the understanding that I know we've had some musical performances, and I'll just note I look forward to CSM bringing some of the community events in the future. So clearly you're doing some work, but I was just curious to learn more.
Sure. So Lou Cohen, president of the board, thought it was a great idea, top priority to work with the schools to get some music downtown as one of sort of my first projects. And it's just been absolutely wonderful to work with them. I've also had the Youth Advisory Council, their Generation Voter, which is through the Parks and Rec Department, but it's high school students. So I had them participate in Boba Day, and we've worked with other organizations. I will say, in going forward, it makes sense to collaborate if these organizations, if their goals align with DSMA's goals, and we can kind of incorporate it into existing events or do sort of the pop-up events as well. I am only one person, so coordinating events for other organizations isn't really in the cards, but if Jennifer wants to touch on the process for them to have their own events. But I will say that's really exciting. To me, that shows a sign of success, that people are liking the events and they want more and they want to be involved more, so I think that's a win.
The city does have a special events committee process, so if they would like to do an event in the downtown, we'll go through that special events committee permit. Additionally, staff is exploring more ways to get the youth committees and the schools involved with different ideas that they may have in the downtown. It's aligned with our events coming up.
Thank you. Actually, my second small question was answered by your answers. So those are my questions. Thank you.
Well done, Councilmember. Okay, any other comments, questions?
Just going to say, keep up the great work. More, please. And I know you're one person, but there's tons of people and there's tons of interest. So keep it going. The only feedback I had, and I think I've talked to this maybe with both of you, but just to put it on public record, was I've had some of the seniors tell me that they still feel like there's a lack of accessibility to downtown. And the last couple weekends, I've been parking in Kiku Crossing, which, by the way, is completely available. So if people say they can't park, there's plenty, 700 plus parking space or something crazy like that. Is that right, or am I way too high? But anyhow, the point was, an idea that I've heard, which I'll pitch to you, and I don't expect you to answer other than just take under advisement, was the idea of having like a golf cart type shuttle that might be able to, take people from one of the parking lots and bring them into downtown. Obviously, we couldn't run that all the time, but, running it on Friday, Saturday, Sundays could be helpful to the companies and restaurants in downtown. And we can probably find ways to fund it, and there are organizations that can run that type of service. So it's just a suggestion, but I've heard from my mom being one of the seniors, but a bunch of her friends saying, we really wish there was a way that, we could get there, but, with a walker or a wheelchair or, some ailments, it makes it difficult to try to get to some of the restaurants. So just an idea to put in your head. Thank you so much, and keep up the great work.
Excellent. I'll just add one question besides saying I love everything that's going on downtown. Could you tell us what you think the most impactful events you've put on are and why?
Yeah. I mean, visibility-wise, Boba Day by far definitely had the most impact. We had people come in from all over the Bay, boba lovers. I think it also was a great way to show the boba merchants that we support them. We have so many of them, and one more is opening this week, by the way, so you all should come to the opening. I will say, though, I think that was hugely impactful, but another thing is just over the past year, I think downtown San Mateo has just been in the conversation a lot more, so through social media, through going to homeowners association meetings, going to Jazz on the Hill. I think every little bit helps, even though it seems small in the moment. It's all impactful when it all comes together. So I hope that we continue to be part of the conversation.
Thank you. We will help you make sure of that.
Thank you.
Okay, then I'm going to bring it back to council, and I would appreciate a motion to adopt a resolution levying the annual assessments for the downtown business improvement area.
Move approval of levying the annual assessments 2024, 2025 for the downtown business improvement area.
Second.
Okay, thank you. City Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Hedges,
Yes.
Councilmember Lorraine,
Yes.
Councilmember Lee,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Newsom,
Yes.
Mayor Diaz-Nash.
Yes.
The motion carries 5-0.
Congratulations, Mackenzie. Congratulations to the board and to the president, Lou Cohn. Okay. All right, while everyone comes up, we're going to take a 5-minute break. Okay. We are going to move on to item number 24, public hearing, by right housing opportunity overlay district, zoning code and map amendments, ordinance introduction. And Steve Golden, principal planner, is going to present to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Madam Mayor. I'm Steve Golden, Principal Planner in the Planning Division of the Community Development Department. The item before you tonight is the consideration of an amendment to the city's zoning code and amending the zoning map to establish the Housing Opportunities Overlay District and apply this new overlay zone to 40 parcels throughout the city. So let's begin with an overview of by right housing. It's a zoning designation that has measures to incentivize construction of housing projects, eliminating discretionary review of housing development projects on properties that were included in previous housing elements. But also has strings attached to it in that it requires a developer to provide a higher percentage of affordable units than otherwise required by the city's inclusive housing requirements. And it's limited to 40 properties out of the 208 overall properties in the recently adopted housing element. So why are we proposing this zoning designation tonight? Well, first, it's statutorily required by the state's housing element law. It generally requires that if the city's housing element identifies properties in its current opportunity sites inventory that were also used in previous housing elements, then the city must adopt a program in the housing element to rezone the sites to allow residential uses by right. There are two categories of housing opportunity sites. For by right housing purposes, non-vacant sites that were identified in the current and the prior housing elements are included, which there's 35 of those properties in San Mateo. It also includes vacant properties that were identified in the current housing element and 2 or more consecutive previous housing elements. There are 5 of these sites in this category in San Mateo. And specifically in the San Mateo housing element, policy H1.10 commits the city to establish by right housing pursuant to the state's housing element law. And this is the first of many programs that will be coming before the City Council. Also, the Council should be made aware that the state law mandates time limits for adopting by right housing requirements, and staff has been made aware that state certification of the housing element may be contingent upon the adoption of the city's by right ordinance. This map shows the 40 parcels identified in previous housing elements and also included in Attachment 3 of the agenda report. Attachment 3 also includes a table with more information and references the map IDs shown in this map. To implement the by right housing, staff proposes a zoning ordinance amendment included as Attachment 1 in the agenda report. The proposed zoning code amendment would create a new chapter in the zoning code named the Housing Opportunities Overlay District. The proposed Housing Opportunities Overlay District is consistent with state housing element law in the following ways. First, it would require that all by right housing development projects propose at least 20% of the units as affordable to lower income households, which is defined as equal to or less than 80% of the area median income. Second, the overlay district shall allow housing development at a density of at least 30 dwelling units per acre. And this is not a minimum or a maximum density for the housing development projects, but it does require the zoning district to allow a project up to at least 30 units per acre. You should be aware that in Attachment 2, there's a table that shows that all of the land use designations where the overlay zones will be applied do allow a maximum density of at least 35 dwelling units per acre per the 2040 general plan, which is applicable for determining a project's compliance for density purposes consistent with the Housing Accountability Act. So as far as reviewing a by right housing project in the overlay district, the project shall be considered without any discretionary approval, including a special use permit. However, state law does allow for a non-discretionary design review. So in practice, the city would review a by right housing project through a non-discretionary site plan and architectural review subject to zoning administrator approval, and that comes without a public hearing. The site-based zoning district development standards, as well as the city's objective design standards, would apply, and all applicable standard conditions of approval may still be imposed on these projects. Since this approval would be ministerial, the zoning administrator's decision for these projects would be final and could not be appealed to the Planning Commission or City Council. This process allows for streamlining during the review process per state law, which is similar to an SB 9 housing project that the city is already processing. Also per state law, all by right housing developments are not considered projects under the Environmental Quality Act, which also streamlines the environmental review and the environmental impact disclosure process, but it does not exempt projects from any particular environmental protection law. And then finally, for subdivision purposes, the city is required to impose the California Subdivision Map Act requirements through the city's normal municipal code requirements. So on May 28th, the proposed ordinance was discussed at a Planning Commission public hearing. The Planning Commission received public input and unanimously voted to recommend City Council adoption of the proposed ordinance and amend the San Mateo zoning map on 40 parcels. They also provided an advisory recommendation that the council consider allowing by right housing projects at the city's existing inclusionary requirement of 15% affordable units based on the project's base density when prevailing wages are paid. So staff recommends the City Council make findings that the ordinance is exempt from further environmental review under California Environmental Quality Act, and the council introduced the first ordinance listed in the agenda report, which includes establishing the Housing Opportunities Overlay District and rezone 39 parcels with the overlay designation. Staff will be recommending a separate action to rezone the parcel at 200 South Fremont Street, as Councilmember Lee has a conflict of interest since she owns property within 500 feet of that parcel. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you very much. That was very helpful and important. So let's open up public comment.
Yes, Madam Mayor. So we're going to have two separate public comment periods related to this item. So would they first, bear with me one, yes. This item? Yes. So we have a total of 3 requests to speak on this item. If you're participating via Zoom and you wish to speak on agenda item number 24, please raise your hand. Madam Mayor, that's a total of 3 requests to speak, so we'll set the timer at 3 minutes.
Yes.
Our first speaker will be Anthony Carroll.
Can I interrupt you just for a moment through the mayor? You said that we're going to be in, you didn't finish your thought on that. You got interrupted. That this would be in two different.
Yes, due to, as staff mentioned during the presentation, there's a recusal required for Councilmember Lee.
I see.
So we're going to have 2 separate public comments for the 2 separate items. So we're opening public comment and we'll, excuse me? Yes. So our first speaker will be Anthony Carroll, followed by Edward Evans and Michael Reagan. So yes, come on. Thank you.
Hello, Council. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Anthony Carroll, and I'm speaking on behalf of Carpenters Local 217. First, I would like to just say thank you to the Planning Commission for providing that advisory recommendation to the City Council to allow the same kind of by right inclusionary with prevailing wages. So I understand that statutorily you couldn't do anything. You couldn't make that amendment. You're in a position where HCD has requirements, and that is a 20% inclusionary requirement. But I'm here today to advocate for San Mateo, the city, to adopt a prevailing wage ordinance where projects that are passed and funded with state, county, or local funds are required to have prevailing wages. And this is good for the future of San Mateo. Strong labor standards are necessary to grow and maintain a residential construction workforce that can actually live here, can actually participate in their community, and aren't driving hours into San Mateo in order to work. In the San Mateo housing element, two things were identified as housing constraints, one of which was labor costs, and including prevailing wages, and one of which was the lack of an available residential construction workforce. Naming those both as constraints it's conflicting, it's confusing, because without good labor standards, without prevailing wages, you simply will never attract people to work in the residential construction industry. So, with that all being said, I would love to work with you, and the carpenters would love to work with you on adopting a prevailing wage ordinance in the city of San Mateo. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Edward Evans, followed by Michael Reagan.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council. As my colleague noted, we know that this is going to pass tonight, regardless of what we think about it. But this isn't a suicidal cavalry charge. That's not really warranted tonight. They are fun, but I do want to read something from the founder of our union, Peter J. McGuire. Without organization or unions, working men and women become the victims of each other. One will accept work for less than reasonable wages for fear of another may step in and take it. We organize to elevate our trade and craft from the degradation of low wages and long hours. We organize to abolish piecework and the system of botched work that it produces, and thus advance the standard of skill and proficiency among our members. We organize to assist each other to secure employment for mutual aid in case of sickness and disability, to protect each other's rights and redress our wrongs, and to obtain adequate legislation that will secure wages from the unscrupulous sharks that infest our trade. That was said when our union was founded, the United Brotherhood of Carpenters and Joiners of America, in 1881. San Mateo, for perspective, was incorporated in 1894, and Carpenters Union Local 162 was chartered here in San Mateo in 1899. So we've been here since the beginning or before the beginning, and will continue to be here. The Carpenters Union hasn't made it this far by giving up, by cutting and running. For perspective, I've lived in San Mateo for 18 years, and I have fought for carpenters' wages and benefits and working conditions that entire time, and I will continue until my colleagues and I will continue until younger folks come along and take our place. And we will continue to work and to strive and to succeed little by little, but we will. Like I said, we've been around a long time, and we aren't going anywhere. We want to be partners. As Anthony mentioned, we would love to sit down. We would love to prioritize with you a prevailing wage ordinance, maybe an ordinance that even includes the use of apprentices, the mandatory use of apprentices on housing projects. There's a lot of good state legislation that has been passed in the last couple of years with the carpenters' help and with the carpenters' impetus, and we would like to see that legislation take effect here in San Mateo and shine for the working folks of our city. Thank you.
Thank you. And our final speaker will be Michael Reagan.
Good evening. Good evening. Just a quick reminder about a few things. I did also speak on this subject at the Planning Commission. A few things that concern me as a resident in San Mateo. I've been here for probably, 46 years. And I do appreciate the fact that we need more housing, low-cost housing especially. What I am concerned, and the gentleman really didn't show the map that these properties are on, and I was hoping he'd put those up. I'm also the current president of Beresford Hillsdale neighborhood association. And the properties that I'm here to speak on are 27th, 28th Avenue on El Camino. And the, I guess you could call it the TGIF properties, the properties at 3101 and 1111 El Camino, I think where the TGIF was and has been torn down. And those properties are listed, the only ones listed in the high category. And I really haven't, it was hard finding the information on exactly what that meant, but evidently you're going to increase the height and density of those properties up to 150 units per acre, and the height, which I still haven't gotten an answer on, in those particular, all those areas, both 27th, 28th, and on the 31st and El Camino properties. So what we're concerned about, especially the fact that those are in the rail corridor, is over the years, the lack of parking and the traffic situations, especially the parking is, if these units are built, are going to affect the residents of our neighborhoods. And we're quite concerned, and I hope you guys take that into consideration. Also, the increase in police and fire safety within those developments, within all the developments. It's going to increase our population quite a bit. And like I said, we do support development, but at what cost to the residents that are here? Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, that concludes this portion of public comment.
Thank you. Let's close it and bring it back. But City Manager, maybe if someone on staff could provide Mr. Reagan the specific information he was asking about the buildings.
I'd look to our staff here tonight with us right here, Community Development Director.
Yes, we can definitely work with Mr. Reagan to make sure he has that information and provide those clarifications.
Thank you very much. Yes, bring it back.
So we had done a high one. We'd done a high one on that area, so that's not unusual. That'll be in a new general plan, right?
The by right ordinance here this evening wouldn't necessarily be implementing the land uses in the general plan. There'll be that comprehensive zoning code update that we'll be initiating in the coming year to get to those. The by right ordinance stipulates the densities shall be at least 30 units per acre and align with base densities in the current zoning map. So for now, they wouldn't be approaching those heights that were specified in the general plan.
Thank you. Yeah. So after, and if the general plan passes, then that would be the ability for somebody to build there, but not under this ordinance.
That is correct. Yeah, those heights and densities wouldn't be enabled under this ordinance.
Fine. That's it. Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Yes, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you for your presentation. I'm assuming that 18 and 20 through 25 are the passage project. What is that accurate? I guess would be the first question. So like the Rite Aid Mall and...
Yes, you are correct. That grouping of parcels that's along Concar and Delaware, those parcels do make up the site that is Concar Passages, which is was that entitlement from 2020.
So are we therefore assuming that that project in its current form is dead, or what's the status of it? Because I've heard mixed things. So.
No, this designation, all this does is recognize that this was these sites were on a prior sites inventory and a prior housing element. It doesn't change their status, whether it's entitled or under construction or where it is in the review process. So that wouldn't change it. But if there were a future application here, it could benefit from these. But right now, their current status, which is pending but entitled, wouldn't change with this.
So if that project continues to not move forward and another buyer comes in and takes over the project, does this entitle them to more units than are currently permitted under the current form?
Right now, under current zoning, there could be pathways for more units that are currently on there. So yeah, if there were another entitlement or another application proposed, they could utilize this overlay.
Okay, thank you.
Through the mayor, the density that's allowed under the general plan would be applicable to any new project that's proposed. However, the current general plan has Measure Y limitations, so until that is removed, then it's limited to Measure Y density requirements or limitations.
Okay, thank you very much. And yes, Councilmember Lee.
Thank you. As was presented, it sounded like there were around 200 total parcels, and around 40 of them are applicable to this amendment or proposed new policy. And I'm just curious, if our goal is to streamline processes more broadly, would there be, what would you recommend to council for consideration in terms of having a more expanded capture of the overlay, so that we could perhaps get to streamlining more of the 200 parcels?
So the buy rate ordinance is just one program in the housing element that should be implemented by the council, and then there's many more per all the programs that we'll be looking at over the next 8 years, with a lot of them front-loaded to the first 2 years. So I would just reference the housing element for all those programs that a lot of them will incentivize these housing development projects.
So let me refine my question then. I'm specifically asking, are there ways to consider refining this policy to have a broader capture of potential streamlined housing projects?
I would ask the city attorney to.
If I can jump in here, so this ordinance is designed to comply with state law.
I understand that.
And it's,
Yeah.
it's gone through the planning commission process. So if there were a desire to somehow go beyond state law and to change the ordinance in any substantive way, that would likely have to go back to the planning commission for further review. So what's before the council is a fairly narrow scope of implementing state law and also implementing our housing element policy, which is, I understand it's different from your question of what else could we do, in essence.
Yes, and I struggle with these sort of more finite decisions, because while I appreciate that we're here for updating our codes to comply with state law, from my perspective as somebody who cares deeply about bringing more housing online, I'm interested in expanding that conversation to better understand where there may be levers in every opportunity. This is an ordinance introduction. It's not a foregone conclusion. And when can we consider going beyond state law? We don't have to set our ceiling at the floor. We're here in a conversation to consider a policy that's being introduced for the first time to council. So I'm interested, in further exploring what would the possible mechanisms be to reach, half of the, of the possible inventory, instead of, how do we get to 100 instead of 40? Is there a way to do that from a policy perspective? I understand that we're here to comply with state law.
So we can jump in here. So the direction that we have is from the council as part of the adoption of the housing element. The discussion that you're looking at broadening would have been perfect when you're talking about the housing element prior to the adoption. Right now, we're implementing the policies in the direction of what the council has approved and moving forward. So that discussion probably should have happened 6 months ago. If you're looking at expanding beyond what we have in the housing element policy, because that's just another policy on top of the rest of all the mandates that we already have to follow. Now, if that was incorporated as part of the original discussion, that's what we would broaden forward, exactly what you're saying, like 200 parcels. But the discussion happened. We had the direction from the council to move forward with these 40 parcels, 39 in this action and the next one action. And so that's what we're here today providing, moving forward.
Understood. I guess that then that elevates a concern for me in terms of how we go about with full deliberation as a council implementing housing element policies that, we may want to broaden and explore more options and more nuances. And so I hope as we continue down the path of implementation of the housing element, which is a major lift and something I know we're all committed to, I hope that we can also allow some space for elevation and innovation.
Through the mayor, if I may just interject one other thought. This particular action is very specific to state law requirements and is a key piece to ensuring we stay on the path to housing element certification. We will be bringing multiple other policies forward for discussion, and I think the administrative threshold for when we approve housing projects is a good example of we started with a commitment of elevating it to at least 25 units. We brought that forward, and the direction was let's see how much further we can go. So staff is currently doing that work, and at the next opportunity, we will bring that back. And so I think in many of these discussions, there's that opportunity. This particular action here tonight is very aligned with specific state law that's required for our housing element to move forward.
All right, thank you very much, and thank you, Councilmember Lee. So with no other questions, no, I was going to actually ask for someone to, I was going to call a question, yeah. You have some questions? We've already had a chance to ask questions.
When you asked me if I thought you meant just that one.
Yeah, if you could.
I thought you meant just that one question that I'd ask, which was a preliminary question.
Okay, well then please ask your questions and then let's move on.
So I see a number here that are more than 35 units per acre on the list. So the only reason someone would have to do 35 is if it were by right, is that correct?
The by right ordinance doesn't set a minimum or a maximum. It just, per state law, requires that the zoning district allow at least 30 units per acre.
So for by right, we could get up to 50 then on this list.
So for a housing project, whether it's by right or not, you can go up to the allowable density per the general plan.
I understand that, but the question I'm asking is, can I have a by right program on a 50 unit per acre since we're talking about 35 units?
Again, we would have to look at the project to see if it's consistent with either zoning or general plan. And if the general plan allows up to 50, then that would be allowed.
Well, I'm looking at the list with 50, so that's why I'm asking the question. I'm hopeful that it does allow by right for up to 50.
Yes, if it's in one of those districts that allow for 50, then we would approve it.
And the level of affordable, what are those? Is it low? Does it matter what level of affordable in this particular measure?
It's lower income households, so up to 80% AMI.
But nothing with 30 or 50?
That qualifies as well.
Okay. But there's no requirement that we have the low in?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. Just one statement would be that I really would like to see the language the Planning Commission offered in this particular measure. I understand we can't do that, and I think that's a shame. And I also, language for apprenticeships. It's very easy to pick somebody up off a corner, show them how to do some of the low-level work, and not train them. Most of our people that don't go to college would love to be in the building trades because it's a way to a better source of living, and the only way they get there is with training. The building trades has the largest private school in the country that's free to the community, that raise people up in their level of income. So we really need to talk to the state about changing this, because adding just some simple language like in Buffy Wilkes' Bill 2011 that allow for these things are not going to bring in a whole cache of other things to destroy the possibility of a project. But I'm really unhappy we're having to do this without doing the proper language that would make it better life for our working people here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I need someone to make a recommendation to make findings that the ordinance is exempt from further environmental review under CEQA Section 15183, projects consistent with the general plan or zoning.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you very much. City Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Lee. My apologies. Councilmember Lorraine.
Yes.
Councilmember Lee.
Yes.
Councilmember Hedges.
No.
Deputy Mayor Newsom.
Yes.
Mayor Diaz-Nash.
Yes.
The motion carries 4-1.
Thank you. And now we're going to move on to the second section, but I believe that there is a recusal involved.
So I will demonstrate my recusal from voting on the ordinance to add an overlay to the property at 200 South Fremont because it's located within 500 feet of my real property interests. So I will see you after you call me back.
Thank you very much. So, over to you.
Hello again. This will be a very short presentation. So this is the second action for the Housing Opportunities Overlay District to rezone the parcel at 200 South Fremont Street with the overlay district. And technical problems. Okay, so I won't go through all the details about the overlay district you heard in the last presentation. So while not noted in the slide, the Planning Commission at the May 28th meeting, they did recommend, they voted and recommended that the council find the ordinance categorically exempt from CEQA, and they recommended City Council approval of the zoning amendment for 200 South Fremont Street. So as detailed in the agenda report, staff recommends council make findings that the ordinance is exempt from further environmental review under the California Environmental Quality Act, and for council to introduce an ordinance reclassifying the zoning designation for 200 South Fremont Street to include the housing overlay district. Thank you very much.
And if you could put that back up.
Yep.
Okay. And I'm looking for any public comment. Yep, it was coming out of my mouth. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, we've received no request to speak on this item.
Thank you very much. I'll close public comment, bring it back to the council for comments, questions. Councilmember Hedges.
I like this. I would do almost anything to fill in that hole for those neighbors at 200 Fremont.
Through the mayor, if I can make a suggestion. You can just move the staff recommendation instead of reading the entire slide if you choose.
Move staff recommendation.
There we go. Could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Hedges.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Newsom.
Yes.
Councilmember Lorraine.
Yes.
Mayor Diaz-Nash.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
All right, and who is going to let Councilmember Lee know? Oh, no. Steve, thank you very much.
Yes, very good presentation.
Yep. All right, we're moving on to item number 25, 1528 South El Camino Real, zoning map amendment and modifications to an existing mixed-use building. And we're going to have Elaine Ling, principal planner. Oh, she's remote. Okay, she will be joining us remotely. Oh, and she's on mute. Please unmute yourself. No? Now try again. Does that work?
Elaine, can you please unmute your mic?
She shows she's unmuted.
Looks like we may be having some technical issues.
Hello, Elaine.
Good evening, City Council. Can you hear me?
That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Good evening, City Council and members of the public. This is Elaine Ling, Principal Planner. The item before you tonight is a zoning map amendment and modification to an existing mixed-use building located at 1528 South El Camino Rio. The application included a zoning map amendment to rezone the rear portion of the site from R3 to RC2/R4. The photos identified to the right of the slide identify the rear portion of the lot. The application also included interior modification and modification to the condition approval to replace 10 live-and work units with 10 residential units. The subject site, outlined in red, take access from El Camino Rio to the north of State Route 92. The subject property is surrounded by commercial uses to 3 sides and single-family residential uses to the west. The subject project site is within half a mile from a Haver Park Caltrain station. Therefore, no parking is required. In 1998, the City Council approved a 4-story mixed-use building for residential and commercial uses. The original application included a lot merger to merge 3 parcels separately zoned as R3 and C2/R4 into one parcel, creating a split zoning designation for the lot. The rear portion of the site is zoned R3 along Jasmine Street, and the front portion along El Camino Rio is zoned as C2/R4. Please note, R3 zoning designation does not allow commercial uses, only allow multifamily residential uses. The original application included 10 live-and-work units, and the condition approval required minimum floor area for residential uses. Therefore, those 10 live-work units can be located in the R3 zoning district. However, it was documented in a 2020 code enforcement cases that those live-work units did not include a residential component, but instead used for office use only. To correct these violations, the applicant submitted a planning application to reconfigure the interior space without exterior expansion to replace the 10 live-work units with 10 residential units. The application also included a zoning map amendment to rezone the rear side of the parcel from R3 to C2/R4. Not only the zoning map amendment would bring a single zoning designation to the entire site, it will also be in alignment with General Plan 2040. General Plan 2030 have a land use designation for the rear portion of the site as medium density multifamily, and a land use designation for the front portion of the site as regional community commercial high density multifamily. The General Plan 2040 land use designation has only one land use designation for the entire site, which is mixed use medium 2. This land use designation would allow residential, commercial, and office uses to be located throughout the entire site. Therefore, the zoning map amendment would be in alignment with the existing use and proposed uses and incompatible with General Plan 2040. All departments have reviewed the application and updated the condition approval based on the new standards and policies. The new set of condition approval would supersede the original 1998 condition approval in attachment 2. Multiple condition approval would be modified to related to the live and work units, and require a replacement of 10 residential units. There is no downzoning or no net loss associated with the zoning map amendment, which is consistent with the state law, Housing Crisis Act. Staff has determined that this project is further exempt from environmental review under CEQA guideline section 151A3 as the project is consistent with the general plan. General Plan 2040 and then the associated environmental impact report has been reviewed and certified by City Council. All noticing requirement has been met for this item, and staff has not received any public comments as to today. The Planning Commission has reviewed the application and unanimously recommended City Council's approval. Therefore, staff recommend City Council to introduce the ordinance for the zoning map amendment and adopt a resolution to approve the site plan and architectural review and determine the project exempt from CEQA under section 151A3. Staff now concludes the presentation and is happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor, we will now move to the applicant presentation. I will pull up. Bear with me one moment. Oh.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Honorable Council. For more than 2 decades, the building at 1528 South El Camino, they call themselves the De Ritz Building. It's been an integral part of the San Mateo community, fostering a diverse range of public activities, such as art and museum-type exhibits, children dance studios, and they've recently put in rooftop gardens. Constructed in 1999, this mixed-use establishment has served as a testament to our client's commitment to sustainable development and urban vitality. The building had sort of a unique beginning in that by putting the 3 parcels together, it actually ended up straddling commercial zoning in front and residential in back. And let's go to number 2, I'm sorry. And as you can see on here, the smaller portion of the building out the back is in the actual residential zoning. And it created a need for a unique solution at the time, which was putting together live-work units. And that was their solution. And they came up with a fusion of commercial, professional offices, and 10 live-work units. Notably, during that time, the live-work units were not, for such a new concept, they were not included in the California Building Code, and this ended up prompting very specific requirements within their conditions of approval. Let's go to the next. Here's the original plans, and you can see the purple in the back are live-work units. Next one. And then this 3rd floor is all live-work units. And keep in mind, the live-work units are, the majority at this time were considered to be office with some living space within them with kitchens and bathrooms and showers and that type of thing. Go to the next one. And then on the 4th floor was also the same. So, you know, we've only been with this project a few years now, but over the past 23 years, to the best of our knowledge, no live-work based enterprises have ever occupied these designated spaces. Our client acquired the property in 2008. And the units have been predominantly leased as conventional offices and various commercial businesses. The issue, when it came to light, it sparked some very meaningful conversations between our client and the city. And our observation is that the demand for live-work spaces is very limited within our local area. Considering the pressing housing shortage faced by the city of San Mateo and in alignment with the California housing element, we propose to proactively address this matter. And so working with planning, we came up with a solution of amending the zoning map to make the entire parcel commercial C21 with the residential R4 overlay. Can we move on next? There we go. And with this, we'll transform the 10 original live-work units into 10 apartments. And all these apartments are thoughtfully situated on the second and third floors of the building rear side, which faces the residential parcels. Correspondingly, the El Camino side will be exclusively commercial use. Let's go next. And so, yeah, here's the units in the back, and in the front is all commercial. So go to next slide also, showing next floor. We want to emphasize that this, let's go to next slide. So this proposal is focused exclusively on repurposing existing spaces. We have no intention of altering the building's footprint. The limited exterior modifications are proposed with the addition of 4 windows and 2 glass doors. These alterations are crucial to ensuring code-mandated egress, as well as the infusion of natural light and ventilation for the apartments on the building's rear side. Let's go final, I think it's the final one, yeah. We request the City Council approve the zoning map amendment in the site plan and architectural review for the interior changes and modifications to the original conditions of approval. Our intent is to facilitate a seamless transition that aligns with the current needs and dynamics of the community. In conclusion, we understand the significance of these proposed changes and the importance of their proper consideration. Our client is committed to working with the City of San Mateo to ensure that any modifications are in harmony with our shared vision for sustainable growth and community enhancement. We appreciate your time and attention to this matter and are happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you very much for all the work and for the presentation. And thank you, Elaine, as well, for your presentation. So once the city clerk gets back, then we can open up public comment. Thank you again.
Yes, Madam Mayor. So this is for item number 25 on the agenda. If you wish to speak on this item, you're attending remotely, please raise your hand now. We'll give you a few moments to do so. Madam Mayor, we have received no request to speak on this item.
All right, thank you very much. I will close public comment, bring it back to the council for any questions or comments. Councilmember Hedges.
For the applicant. This is curiosity. I know this building pretty well. And both our state senator and state assembly member have had offices there over the years, multiple different electeds. And some of those rooms have 2 stories.
That's correct.
Are you going to divide those up into separate flats?
Yes.
That sounded like a good move to me. It makes more housing, and they were kind of useless the way they were set up. If they were for live work, they were never used that way.
Yeah, it was an attempt sort of a very preliminary attempt at a live-work space, and wasn't very well understood at that time how this would work.
Yeah,
so the spaces were oversized and 2-story, and
I know who was on the planning commission at that time. I actually listened to the debate on this. So I think that live work was very popular in New York, some in Los Angeles, and it was started becoming a fad, and that may have been how we got here. Thank you.
Great. Any other comments, questions?
Sure. Question, I guess, to city staff. Do we know of any other projects that have similar characteristics that are supposed to be, residential mixed use with commercial that are not being used for their intended purpose?
So through the mayor, I'll jump in on that one. To our knowledge, no. This came out of the as it came to our attention that these were originally live work and they were being used as offices, and so we needed to update the building, but we also identified the zoning code issue, so it kind of resulted in the package that you see here before this evening. But to my knowledge, we don't have any other approved live-work units that are out of compliance. I don't know how many other buildings in the city have live-work, but none have come to our attention for occupancy issues.
So do we have a way to survey and determine how many more units we may have so that we could confirm that we don't need to do enforcement?
We can definitely look into that. I know because there was a period in time when that was more of a trending topic or way to incorporate. I think it also, the configuration of this site with the split zoning may have also necessitated or motivated this particular arrangement. But we can definitely look into that and investigate if there are any other buildings that have live-work units that are approved.
Okay, thank you.
Great. All right, then let me bring it back and ask who would like to move the staff recommendation.
I would like to move staff recommendation.
Second.
Thank you very much.
There was no public comment. We did. We did. The mayor did it.
Oh, okay.
I did public comment, no question.
Okay, roll call.
Thank you.
Councilmember Lorraine?
Yes.
Councilmember Hedges?
Yes.
Councilmember Lee?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Newsom?
Yes.
Mayor Diaz-Nash?
Yes,
Motion carries 5-0.
thank you very much. Okay, let's move on to item number 26, another public hearing, fiscal year 24-25, operating and capital budgets and Gann appropriations limit adoption, and fiscal years 24 to 29 capital improvement program approval. And our finance director, Karen Huang, is going to make the presentation. Excellent. Welcome, Renee. Thank you for your help. And thank you, Martin, for the technical support. Very green.
Oh, this one is on. Can you hear us okay? When I shut your microphone? This one, okay. Okay, I think we're all set. Some technical difficulty.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and the members of the City Council. My name is Renee Halcon. I'm the budget manager for the city. I'll be talking about the operating budget tonight, and then I'll hand it over to Karen, our finance director, to go over the general fund long-term plan and also the CIP budget. So tonight we're here for the second public hearing for the 24-25 budget. We're going to briefly go over this year's budget process, budget highlights, and also the resolutions to be adopted tonight.
Do you want me to introduce? You can focus on the presentation.
Okay. So in January of this year, we did a budget kickoff with all of the departments in the city, which began the two-year budget for this fiscal year, which primarily focused on operating this year. In February, we presented the 23-24 mid-year updates, and in April, we presented a 24-25 operating budget preview, as well as the 24 to 29 CIP plan. And then on June 3rd, that's when we had our first public hearing for the proposed budget, and which brings us to tonight, the second public hearing for budget adoption. So this is an overview of the 24-25 citywide budget. Nothing has changed since the first public hearing, so the operating budget still stands at $256.1 million, which is made up of the general fund, enterprise funds, and all other special revenue funds. The capital budget still stands at $65.2 million, and combining the two totals $321.3 million. So of that $321.3 million, 80% of that is for our operating budget and the other 20% for capital. These are the citywide sources of funding, and for 24-25, the proposed budget is $317 million, and over 50% of that comes from the general fund. The small sliver there is actually a new revenue source for next fiscal year, which is the stormwater fee, and that's estimated to bring in $4 million per year. So then this is a closer look at the general fund. The revenues are budgeted to be $169.8 million, which is all in on the left side there. And then everything in blue are tax revenues, which makes up over 80% of our revenues. On the right are the general fund expenditures, which stand at $180.4 million. This includes the transfers out to other funds as well. So the blue portion is for salaries and benefits just for the city, and you can see this takes up over 50% of the general fund expenditures. But if you look at the red portion as well, that's the city's contribution to SMC Fire, which is primarily used for personnel there. So in total, over 70% of the general fund's expenditures are used for personnel cost. So here's just a wrap up of the general fund. Nothing has changed from the first public hearing, so we are still estimating a deficit of $10.6 million, which would mean that we would draw down on the general fund's rainy day reserves, reducing the general fund balance to approximately $99.2 million.
Okay, thank you, Renee. I want to say tonight is Renee's first council presentation, and she has been with the city for almost 5 years now, and she started with us as a budget analysis and got promoted to budget manager this year. So I'm so happy she's here with us, and she led the budget team and worked many late nights to put the budget together. So really kudos to her and her team to get us to where we are today for budget adoption. Thank you, Renee. So I'll take over from here. I actually want to go back one slide. Here is the general fund's revenue projection. As you can see, the blues are majority of all the tax revenues, and the biggest piece is our property tax. As I mentioned to the council 2 weeks ago in our first public hearing, our property tax revenue is projecting to be doing a little better than the preview, which I project at 3% only annual growth for the next fiscal year. Now it's coming in around 3.5%. If this number improve, and I'll let council know. So we'll keep monitoring it. And the other revenue source is relatively flat. I have to emphasize that majority of our general fund revenue is staying flat with only moderate increases for next year. Okay, so a couple things we need to emphasize again is the property in lieu of vehicle license fee, VLF. This topics come up every single time when I have to talk about the budget, and it's not going away. So this will be the last time I'm talking about it this month, I believe, and it will come back again. So I just want to say the good news is that the highlight here is $4.2 million from 2 years ago. And chances are the state is going to honor their obligation to pay us. If the state general fund budget passed with that backfill promise built into their budget, we are likely going to get the funding in August. And that's the shortfall from 2 years ago. So what I want to say is, what about next year? What about the year after? We are talking about 4.2 million, and the next shortfall is 6.7, and the next one is 6, and I don't need to keep going because the orange bar show you that shortfall keep growing. So it's topics will keep coming back, and we have to fight for our local money every single year. The general fund 10-year forecast, as you can see, is built on some assumptions, and we are using our middle ground assumption where we assume the state will fund the VLF, but at a reduced level. But with this approach, we somehow can stabilize our budget projections to somewhere that is reasonable. We are not forecasting the best, the rosy picture, but not completely everything is gone. So we kind of keep the middle ground and projecting under that assumption. And as you can see, for the next couple of years, we are going to see deficits, at least $10 to $12 million a year for the next couple of years. So with that, our general fund, after we draw down our about $10.5 million deficit, it will go down to $99 million, like Renee mentioned. And if we keep having a deficit, this will draw down our general fund further and further. We cannot keep operating in a deficit and huge deficit like that year after year. So something have to be done. Either our revenue condition improve, or we have to take some actions to fix the deficit issues. This brings us to our capital budget. As we mentioned in the last public hearing, our capital improvement program is a 5-year program, but we only adopt the budget for the first year. And that is the $65.2 million we mentioned earlier. And the 5-year total is $240 million for what we have programmed it in. Of course, the year 2, year 3, 4, 5, they're all outlooks, they're forecasts. Those numbers can change, but that's what we know best based on what we know about the condition and the cost. And those out-year numbers will be refined every year, and we only bring back 1 year for the council to approve and adopt into our capital budget. Our city employees' headcount will go up by 13 positions, merit position next year. We have discussed these topics in the last public hearing, and here just a summary by department to show you where those positions go. Out of the 13 FTE merit positions, 3.5 FTE is going to be funded by the general fund. With cost recovery and elimination of part-time positions, the net impact to the general fund is roughly around $225,000. And that brings us to what we need from the council tonight is to adopt resolution to approve fiscal year 24-25 operating and capital budget, the Gann limits, and our 5-year capital improvement programs. And that concludes our presentation tonight, and I'm here, Renee and I are here to answer any questions. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And Renee, that was a magnificent first presentation. Well done. Well done. And thank you to you and the entire finance team for putting everything together. So let me open it up for public comment.
This is public comment on item number 26 on the agenda. If you wish to speak on this item, you're participating via Zoom, please raise your hand now. Madam Mayor, we have no request to speak on this item.
All right, thank you. I'll close public comment, bring it back to council for questions, comments. Councilmember Hedges. You are amazing tonight, yes.
So thank you for a great summary of the budget. I really appreciate it. have a general question. If you don't know, that's fine. In the past, we used to get about 16 cents out of every dollar of the property tax. Do you know whether that's fluctuated at all?
That percentage, I think, is about 15.3% of every dollar of
I think
property
the county
tax.
gets about 25% and the schools get the rest.
The school gets about 52% of a dollar, and the rest is between the special district, county, and local cities. And also we have the ERAF, which is the Education Revenue Augmentation Fund, and that's a total different topics. It's the state try to get, like back in the 1990s where they have budget crisis, they have to set up the ERAF fund and take part of that $1 to use for school funding.
That was after Prop 13. Yeah. So we have 3 projects that are large downtown that have been approved but aren't moving forward, and 2 others that are approved. Some of these are whole blocks. So, and these buildings that are on those blocks were originally Prop 13. So I'm assuming that in the out years on here, we may get a boost in revenue significant from those projects if they're built.
That will help our property tax, definitely.
And even better yet, if the developer decides to sell the project, then we get transfer tax too. So there is some glimmer of hope out there.
Yes.
So I just wanted to make that clear. Thank you.
That's right.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Lorraine.
I don't have much in the way of questions. I will echo the mayor's comments earlier, and even Councilmember Hedges. I found many glimmers of hope in our budget. I'm cautiously optimistic for our future. I thank our finance staff for presenting tonight, and I support moving approval.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilmember Lee.
Second.
Oh, I had 2 questions.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. First off, is if the VLF does, so I know the VLF we put into the budget trailing like 2 years. If it does get funded, does that reduce the operating deficit for this year, or has that already been accounted for?
No. So when we build the budget, present to the council back in April, we make the assumption we'll get the money. And when we first present the proposed budget 2 weeks ago, we are based on the assumption we'll get the money. So when the money actually confirmed, it's likely going to come in, it doesn't change our deficit situation.
So if it didn't come in, the deficit would be higher.
15.5 million.
Thanks.
Real quick on follow-up on the VLF, I just want to let you know that we're not stopping. So I'm meeting July 1st with the county manager and a couple other city managers in this county, because we've got to figure out just a finality on VLF. As you saw on that chart, this is a serious issue and a serious threat for all our budgets. And so we're going to be looking at just really taking a deep look and try to get to a final deal, hopefully with the state of California in the near future.
Thank you. Second question and final question was, how do you forecast CIP year over year? Now, you say you really only look at the active year and the next coming year, but how do you forecast what that could be when we have something like a garage, which all of a sudden becomes a multi-million-dollar project? Like, how does that correct?
The forecast is not from finance. I think the CIP budget overall is driven by our public works colleague. They have a plan what they need to get done, and finance is bring them back to reality and what we can actually fund those projects. So when certain project they wanted to do, and we have to prioritize based on the funding level we can provide, then they have to pick and choose which one they need to fund and in which year. So we can, and also look at our staff capacity too, like realistically how much we can take on in each year instead of lock in the money for project we don't have capacity to work on. So they have to really take a lot of planning into this CIP to think about staff capacity, funding level, and priority, which one need to go in year 1, year 2, and year 3 and lay it all out.
Thank you for your answer.
Councilmember Newsom, you bring up a really good question. And so that's something that we're going to be looking at just overall with our CIP over this next year. It's one of the blue sky items that the council adopted actually earlier this year that we'll be looking at in the upcoming fiscal year. But it's like what you mentioned, if a garage goes down and it costs $32 million, there might actually be closures. There's not, we don't have just money sitting there for these items. And so that's something we have to really take a deep look at. One, do an organizational assessment of our CIP unit to see how best we can resource it so that we can get the work out and seen out in this community. Two is really looking at our facility assessments and our operations and maintenance schedules, how we're protecting our assets and our infrastructure for future generations. And so this is a deep, serious look that we'll be taking on over this next year through your guys' leadership as a council. We're up for the challenge here to meet that need at this time.
Thank you.
And our budget is actually built based on the council's strategic priorities. Like this year, we put in additional funding to the Quick Bill program, which is driven by the council's direction. And because it's council's priority, we put the resource into it to make it happen. So your guidance and direction, it's really our foundation of building this budget and the resources. In addition to running the city, provide our service level, we allocate our resource around the council's priority.
Thank you. No further questions.
All right, then I need someone to
Move approval of the staff recommendation.
There you go. Second. Okay, then, City Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Hedges.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Newsom.
Yes.
Councilmember Lee.
Yes.
Councilmember Lorraine.
Yes.
Mayor Diaz-Nash.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
And Mayor, I just want to just thank all of your help with the council as we went through 5 different meetings to get to this point. This is the single most important policy a city council can pass, what you did this evening, because those numbers are stories. And behind those stories are the support for this community that we bring in and day out. And so I want to thank just the wonderful staff team that we have out here in the audience who really helped support to build this budget, along with our finance director, Karen Wang, and also Renee and Samantha and Chris. They were the big heavy lifters in all of this. So just my thanks, and just my thanks to this council.
I would like to second.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I think this budget really is thanks to the city manager's leadership, thanks for our council's guidance, and it's not an easy one. We have so many requirements that we need to meet, and the council's direction really helped me and the team to put the budget together this year. So thank you so much. And our wonderful departments, our department heads and their staff really work together. It's a truly team effort. Thank you, everyone.
Could I add to that, Mayor Lee? Mayor Nash?
Hello?
Sorry, I'm back in last year.
Okay.
So I just wanted to say, in addition, the staff from planning, without a general plan, which is the Bible of how this city grows, and with good economic conditions and a good budget, I think they both go together. They're very important, and I think we have a lot of thinking to do for both our budget people and our planning people.
Great. Thank you. That was well put. Thank you very much. All right, now we are going to move on to reports and announcements. Who has reports and announcements? Councilmember Hedges.
I've just been really
You're just on it tonight, yeah.
just on it today. I got accosted after the first vote by several people from North Central about the bike lanes. And they want at least some finite statement from the city about when we're going to try to deal with that. And I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot, but I'm feeling their pain too.
So in talking about the bike lanes, right now I have staff doing additional assessment work. We also went out, the Public Works Director and I, out to the Martin Luther King Center Senior Lunch, received more feedback. And so I'm hoping that we can come back with some more information, initial information to this council, probably within the next 4 weeks of just where we're at overall, but then actually out to the community probably in the fall.
Okay, sounds good. It's sometime, if we're going to make a change, we'll have to agendize it, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. That's what they were asking me about. When are you going to agenda this?
Yeah, more information to come, I guess.
Okay,
Say we're
thanks.
working on it.
Hopefully, they're still up and listening.
There's such a thing as watching YouTube tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, Councilmember Hedges. Councilmember Lorraine, do you have anything? Nope. Okay, Councilmember Lee? No? And
A couple things. One, got to check out the mosquito abatement and vector control open house this past weekend, and said that I would make a pitch, although no one's listening, maybe someone will listen to the recording. But if you have standing water in your yards, please check your yards for standing water, drain it, pour it out. If you have any concerns with any types of pests, please reach out to the Mosquito and Vector Control Abatement District. The other two things are upcoming events. The Central Park Music Series starts this Thursday. Come on out. It's going to be a great time. My favorite time of year to come out every Thursday. And the Humane Society has the Bark and Brew Festival, a beer tasting event this Saturday to raise money for the Peninsula Humane Society. So great events, and hope to see all of you out there.
absolutely. And that music series goes through August 8th, every Thursday night. So please come out and join. And thank you, everyone. With this, our meeting is adjourned.